Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. Welcome to all for this session on Ganesha Purana to chapter 73. So, after hearing the details of the procedure of Sankashta Chaturthi Vrata and then who all had done it in the past and what benefit they had got, as well the concluding ceremony so that one can get the benefit, the king Shurasena, who was hearing this story from Indra, asked Indra, O Indra, performer of 100 sacrifices, 100 yagnas, did those two, Krithaveerya and his wife, have got a son at the conclusion of the vow, or the conclusion of the vratha? I've asked you, so tell me everything in detail, O Lord. Then Indra told him, O king, do you think that anything can happen when Ganesha is fully satisfied? Do you think that such a great thing won't happen? As a result of his favor of Ganesha, the king's queen became pregnant. In the ninth month, she gave birth. She saw that her auspicious son had two shoulders and a pleasant face, but that he was without arms and hands. He had a fine nose and a lotus eyes, but neither knees, calves, or feet. Then, when she saw him, his mother really, the with that motherly heart, she started really crying. Incidentally, what happened was, he indeed she was blessed with a son, but she was expecting, everyone expect their children with the newborn should be healthy and without having any kind of a disability. But here in this case, she got a auspicious son, but instead of two shoulders that is expected, he had none of them. He born without arms and hands, and he without knees, calves, or even the feet. Only the body part and the head was there. Then she started crying. How could I be so unfortunate as to have a boy like this? He has neither hands nor feet. O Gajanana, why has he been given to me? Even though barren, that means till this time she was not having any child. Even though barren, I was pure. So why have I got a son like this? Hasn't the evil I committed in the previous birth already been removed because of that Sankashta Chaturthi Vrata? O Duradhanana, how could even your favor have turned out like this? How could the commands of the Brahmins have produced such results for me? She was striking her breast and forehead repeatedly with her hands, and when she wept, every other woman who stood there wept too. On hearing their uproar, the king came there too, and his ministers also came there after they heard him weeping. The citizens themselves cried too after they heard the both of them crying. King Krithaveerya then said, in what way, God Gajanana, do you sympathize with those who are miserable? In what way have you expressed sympathy for me now? And in what way do you remove evils merely as a result of recollection? O faultless God, recitation, austerity, recollection, gift giving, worship, feeding of the Brahmins, personal service, and sacrifice have all been useless for me. Fate is more powerful than these. Continuous exertion is useless. The result of action can never be known, nor can the future. Just as by cutting through a mountain one only gets a rat, so too has this son of mine been born to me because of an effort made in a previous life. Normally, when we perform the worship of the god and pleased God would offer us the best of what we expect, what our expectation is. But in this case, typically, often it happens to us also. Sometimes what we get after doing all those things may be another kind of problem. Because till now, the problem for Krithaveerya and his wife was they didn't had any son. Now they requested for the god, they performed the Sankashta Chaturthi Vratha, and after the performance of that Vratha, they did got a son. But incidentally, he was born with disabilities. He had neither the arms nor the legs. Then the ministers spoke to that king who was full of grief. The ministers told him, O king, please stop grieving. O protector of the earth, how can the inevitable be otherwise? Did not Rama recognize the deer when asked for it, but he still left? This is about the story of Ramayana. Don't you think that Rama, being such a wonderful, he is a best among the people having the knowledge, was he not aware that the golden deer doesn't exist? And this must be some kind of a maya that is done by the demons in order to lure him away. He was knowing about it, but still he went behind that. And because of that reason, Sita got abjected. Sita got kidnapped by Ravana. Likewise, what is inevitable can never be avoided. And didn't Yudhishthira know that he would lose when he engaged in gambling with Shakuni? Even so, Yudhishthira, king of Dharma, went to play, and after he had lost everything, he went into the forest. Given such bitter lamentation, there may be nothing agreeable in him. Yet, if that which cannot be foreseen really happens, then in the future he may well be agreeable, just as a fruit or a flower becomes a great tree over a time. So too will he over time truly become Lord of the earth. Because even Yudhishthira later became once again the king of Hastinapura. And even Sita, who got kidnapped by Ravana, Rama could able to kill Ravana and get back Sita. So in the same fashion, though something inevitable has happened, over a period of time with your effort, there is a possibility the newborn might become healthy and okay in all aspects. This is about having a hope in our life in spite of doing all kind of vratas, donations, everything to the God. If something wrong happens, don't lose the hope. Keep the hope that with the blessing of the God, later it might result in a better thing. We'll see later how exactly the same son of Krithaveerya, who was later called as Karthaveerya, his disabilities got rectified. Indra told the story. After he had heard his minister's statement, the king became attentive and said to his queen, Get up, get up, don't grieve. And the king himself, now cheerful, summoning the bulls of Brahmins, performed worship to Ganesha and a swastika vachana, which is basically blessings offered by the priests. After he had performed a Shraddha for prosperity, he gave away many presents, including many garlands, ornaments, clothes, cows, jewels, and various clothes to his friends, kinsmen, and retainers, as well as to the various musicians according to their worth, and to the captives, itinerant actors, and miserable, the blind, and the poverty stricken in general, and in every house he had betel and sugar nut presented. On the 11th day he named him Krithaveerya's son, so Karthaveerya, and he fed the entire town, which was in a state of great festiveness. And when his son was 12 years old, Dattatreya, the rishi sage Dattatreya, came of his own volition to his home. He was not invited. He came on his own volition to the home of Krithaveerya. After Krithaveerya had placed his head at his feet, he bowed to him. When the sage got up, he too embraced the excellent king. who, having sat him upon a charming seat, honored him respectfully. When he was comfortably seated and pleased, with his feet being rubbed, etc., he gave him a footstool, water for the reception, a cow, clothes, a sacred thread, incense, a lamb, an offering of various kinds of fruit, an arguent, beetle, and an honorarium of jewels and gold. You can observe that even in this offering that was made to Dattatreya, who came as a guest to the home of Krithaveerya, we can see a glimpse of that 16 offerings that we do use to make it to the god. The king said to the great sage Dattatreya, O sage, judging by your appearance in person before my naked eyes, something in a previous life has now produced a merit for me. Due to your favor, O strong word sage, the future will be most auspicious, as evildoers never have a sight of people like you. After he had heard Krithaveerya's speech, Dattatreya said to him, I have come now wishing to see your extraordinary son. Thereafter, filled with joy, the king spoke again to the sage. The king said, Personal service, austerity, and gift giving had only turned out to become useless. The vratha has elapsed, and the Lord of the worlds has now given me this son, who is a veritable spear in the heart, and because of his unseemliness, I have become one unworthy to be looked upon. Indra continued the story. After he had fetched the boy, the king presented him to the sage. But when he saw his son, the good sage shaded his lotus eyes. Realizing by meditation his deed, the sage addressed him again. O king, by conquering everyone, this very son of yours will become a great killer. He will become a great samrata. Your son has been born without some limbs because you yawned at the time of the vratha of Sankashta. It means on the day when Sankashta Chaturthi vratha is to be done, till up to the night they should remain in fasting. And after performing the vratha, that night they should perform the jagarana. They should not sleep. They should spend the whole night singing the bhajans and in the praise of the god. But at that time, at some moment, he, the Krithaveerya did yawn. So, because of that yawning, because of that reason, though he has got a son, he got a son whose limbs and arms are not there. When you should have been awake for the whole night, you did not sip, you not to sip water, but he will gain these limbs by some means. Because of that reason, you got a son without limbs or the arms. But don't worry, he will get back his limbs and the arm. The king then asked, You have expressed that well, O Lord. Have pity on me and tell me the means by which, due to your favor, my son will have his limbs. Filled with pity, the sage then told his son a single syllable mantra for obtaining his limbs. Then he spoke to him once more about the devout propitiation of Ganesha by means of that mantra. For 12 years, undertake restraints through eating one meal a day and fasting, O strong wood boy, and he will make an appearance to you. Merely by casting a glance on him, you will have a celestial body. The sage, after saying this to the king, just bid him for farewell, and he disappeared. And after he had departed, that proud son who had no feet said to Krithaveerya, Take me to the dense forest. I am going to undertake this personal service for the sake of Ganesha's favor. When they heard this statement he had uttered, his parents started weeping, but his father sent him to the forest in a pleasant palanquin. And after the servants had set him up in a hut made of leaves, they returned to the city. There he remained duly unresolved in himself to perform all kind of austerities. Thus ends the 73rd chapter of Upasana Khanda of the glorious Ganesha Purana, in which we have seen how King Krithaveerya had indeed got a son with the blessings of Ganesha, but due to some reason the son was having no arms or the limbs. Later, the king was visited by sage Dattatreya, who told him the reason, saying that at the time, while performing the Sankashta Chaturthi Vrata, Krithaveerya yawned for a while in the night when he was supposed to keep himself awake, and for that mistake of him, he had got a son who has no limbs or the arm. But then this can still be rectified. So he gave a single syllable mantra to the boy and asked him to perform severe austerity. And then that boy Karthaveerya asked his father to take him to the forest where he will perform the austerity. Namaste Sharada Devi Kashmira Puramasini Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye.